In 1494, Europeans learned about new lands. Just 2 years before, a Spanish trip led by Columbus had found America. Europeans started to see that the world was much bigger than they knew. They found lands that seemed to belong to no one, so they decided to claim them. Spain and Portugal were two strong sea powers at that time. To avoid fighting, they made a deal called the Treaty of Tordesillas. They divided the new, undiscovered world. Portugal received lands in Africa, Asia, and a small part of South America. Spain took most of North and South America. The Spanish looked for riches in their new lands. They found much silver on the western side of the Americas. For 300 years, about 80% of the world's silver came from places like modern-day Mexico, Peru, and Bolivia. This made Spain the richest country. The search for silver led Spanish explorers deeper into South America. They came to the mouth of a big river, the Rio de la Plata. The land there had a mild climate and good, rich soil. The Spanish thought silver must be hidden in this beautiful place. Local stories also spoke of riches. So they named the region Terra Argentina, which means land of silver in Latin. But the Spanish never found any silver there. However, the name Argentina stayed. Since the land was so good, the Spanish settled anyway. They started farming. They grew cotton, tobacco, and sugar. They also brought animals like cows, sheep, and horses. These animals grew well on the wide green plains. Fat, hides, and wool became important products for many years. The main city became the port of Buenos Aires. It was located at the mouth of the Rio de la Plata. This port offered easy access to the Atlantic Ocean and a way to travel deep into the country by river. Buenos Aires grew in importance as a center for trade. 2. A rich new land. Argentina became independent from Spain after the May Revolution in 1810. Full freedom came 6 years later. At this time, Argentina was the world's 8th largest country. Yet in 1880, only about 2.5 million people lived there. This small population made it hard to fully use the country's rich farmlands. To help Argentina grow, more workers were needed. In 1876, a new law invited people from Europe. Immigrants received help with travel, homes, tools, food, and money for their first years. Importantly, a family could receive up to 100 hectares of land for free. Many Europeans chose Argentina because of this generous offer. This immigration plan worked very well. By 1895, 1 in 4 people in Argentina was an immigrant. The population grew quickly, boosting farming and exports like wheat. The country was also known for its good beef. But sending fresh meat far away was a problem because it spoiled easily. A new invention changed this. In 1876, Charles Tellier used a machine to keep meat cold on a ship, like a refrigerator. With this, Argentine beef could travel safely to Europe and America. In 1882, British companies built big meat factories in Argentina. Here, cows were processed and meat was cooled for shipping. Soon, Argentina exported a lot of beef, providing 40% of the world's supply by the early 1900s. It also exported grain, wool, and corn. This success attracted many foreign investors, especially from Britain. They built railways to move cattle to ports and invested in more meat factories. Wages in Argentina were much better than in many European countries, bringing more people seeking a good life. By 1911, Argentina's economy was very strong. Its wealth was similar to rich European nations. Argentina had become one of the richest countries in the world. 3. The good times end. Argentina became rich by selling farm products like beef and grain, but this made the country too dependent on these exports. If other nations stopped buying, Argentina's economy would suffer. Farm products were easy for other countries to produce or buy elsewhere. This dependence soon caused big problems for the nation. In 1929, the Great Depression, a major economic crisis, began in the United States. This crisis quickly spread to Europe. Countries like the US and Great Britain drastically cut their purchases from Argentina. Argentina's economy, relying heavily on trade, was hit very hard when its main customers stopped buying. From 1928 to 1932, Argentina's exports fell by almost 2/3. The government also lost a lot of money. At the same time, wealth was not shared fairly. Many city workers and immigrants were poor, struggling for jobs. A few rich families owned most of the fertile land, leaving little for others. People lived in crowded city areas, facing hard lives and growing anger. This difficult situation led to public unrest. On September 6, 1930, the military acted. General José Félix Uriburu led soldiers into Buenos Aires. The capital did not resist. Many even cheered. The president was forced to leave. This was Argentina's first military coup, a new problem for the country. This takeover started the infamous decade. For the next 13 years, Argentina was ruled by 4 corrupt leaders, often acting as dictators. They made decisions helping the military, rich landowners, and British investors, not the common people. Agreements often put Argentina's interests last. The good times for Argentina were over. 4. The time of Peron. A new military coup took place in 1943. This coup brought a new leader, Juan Peron, to power. During this time, Argentina had extra money because it traded with many countries during World War II, remaining neutral. Peron used these funds to gain strong support from the working class. He introduced new laws like a minimum wage, and added social benefits such as free education and price controls on food. Many people felt Peron cared for them, and his popularity grew quickly among ordinary Argentines. Juan Perón won the presidential election in 1946 with strong public backing. As president, he began a program to nationalize big industries. This meant the government bought private companies, often from foreign owners, like British and French railway companies and a U.S. telephone company. The idea was to take control of key services so they would benefit Argentina directly. However, these nationalizations were very expensive. For example, the country paid a high price for old, worn-out British railway infrastructure, which some called a pile of scrap metal. Perón also created a state company named IAPI, the Argentine Institute for the Promotion of Trade. This institute controlled all farm trade. IAPI bought agricultural products like meat and wheat from farmers at low, fixed prices. It then resold these products to other countries at higher world market prices. The profit from this trade was meant to fund social programs and build new industries in Argentina, aiming to make the country more self-sufficient. IAPI also imported machinery and raw materials for domestic sale. However, the period of high global food prices ended after 1949. IAPI started losing money, and some of its deals for imported goods were poor. To cover IAPI's losses and the government's growing expenses, the central bank, which was led by the same person as IAPI, began printing more and more pesos. This caused a big problem: high inflation. Money quickly lost its value. For instance, yearly inflation was 19% in 1946, but it soared to 50% by 1951. This meant that the cost of goods and services increased very fast, making life harder for many. The economic struggles led to widespread unhappiness and political tension. On June 16, 1955, a violent event shook Buenos Aires when military planes bombed a rally of Perón's supporters attempting to kill him. Perón survived, but to prevent further conflict and bloodshed, he decided to leave the country. He resigned and went into exile in Spain. His time as leader left Argentina deeply divided. Some still saw him as a champion of the working class, while others blamed his policies for the country's economic instability and the start of a long period of high inflation. 5. Years of trouble. After Juan Perón left in 1955, Argentina faced many problems. For the next 20 years, the country was not stable. There were 3 military coups and 5 different presidents during this time. The government also banned Peronism, the political ideas of Perón. There were also fights in the streets and small wars by groups of people. This period was full of political unrest and economic difficulties. Then, in 1973, Juan Perón came back from exile. He won the presidential election and became president again. But he died just a year later in 1974. After his death, his wife, Isabel Peron, became president. She was the first female president in the world. She had been the vice president before her husband's passing. However, she did not stay in power for long. Her Minister of Economy, Celestino Rodrigo, introduced new economic plans that quickly caused big problems for Argentina. In 1975, Rodrigo became Minister of Economy. He made quick and strong changes, which he called shock therapy. First, he made the peso, Argentina's money, worth much less. This was done to boost export revenues. Second, he made prices for things like electricity, transport, and gas much higher. This was to get more money for the government budget. Third, he increased workers' wages by 38%. But this raise was not nearly enough to cover the new, much higher prices. These fast changes ruined the economy. Prices went up very fast, leading to hyperinflation. This meant money quickly lost its value. From 1975 to 1991, prices increased by more than 300% each year on average. The economy entered a deep crisis. Many workers were angry about these changes. The biggest workers' group, which usually supported Peron's party, went on a national strike. They protested against Isabel Peron's government. The military saw this public anger as a chance to take power again. In 1976, another military coup happened. Isabel Peron was removed from her position, and a new military government took control of Argentina. This marked the end of her short and troubled presidency. 6. A sad war and big deaths. After the military coup in 1976, a new government took control in Argentina. They wanted to improve the economy. The new finance minister, José Alfredo Martínez de Hoz, chose to open the country to trade. He removed taxes on imported goods, allowing cheap products from other nations, especially the United States and Brazil, to flood the market. This economic change greatly harmed local industries. Argentine factories, once protected, could not compete with these cheaper and often better quality foreign items. Many businesses were forced to close, leading to widespread job losses. Industrial production dropped sharply, and unemployment rose. To prevent some important companies from going completely bankrupt, the government took on their debts, adding about $17 billion to the national debt. With the economy in a bad state, the military government sought a way to distract the public and regain support. They decided to start a war. This conflict was over the Falkland Islands, known in Argentina as Las Malvinas. These small rocky islands in the Atlantic Ocean had been claimed by Argentina, but Great Britain had controlled them since 1833. In April 1982, Argentine troops landed on the islands and quickly took control. There was great joy in Buenos Aires. However, Great Britain quickly sent its powerful Royal Navy to the area. Argentina's military was not prepared for a full-scale war. After almost 2 months of fighting, on June 14, 1982, Argentina officially surrendered. The islands were returned to British control. The war's defeat brought national shame and showed the military dictatorship's weaknesses. In 1983, the military government finally fell from power. Democracy was restored in Argentina, allowing citizens to vote for their leaders again. Yet, the country was left with an enormous external debt of $46 billion and very high inflation. The war had not solved Argentina's problems. Instead, it created even bigger financial challenges for the new democratic government. 7. The Dollar Dream. After the military government left, a new democratic government took over in Argentina in 1983. The country was in great trouble. It had a huge amount of debt. Also, prices for everything were going up very, very fast. This problem, called hyperinflation, made daily life very hard for people. By 1989, prices were rising by more than 2,000% each year. People rushed to shops to buy things, fearing their money would soon be worth nothing. This led to social unrest and riots in cities. In 1989, a new leader, Carlos Menem, became president. He promised to fix Argentina's economy with simple solutions. In 1991, his government made a big decision. They decided to connect the Argentine peso directly to the US dollar at a 1-to-1 rate. This meant that for every 1 peso, there had to be 1 US dollar in the country's reserves. Argentina could no longer print its own money freely. The idea was to bring stability. For some years, this plan seemed to work well. Inflation, the rapid rise in prices, almost stopped. Argentina's economy grew stronger. Many foreign investors put money into the country, and banks were happy to lend money. Argentina looked like a stable and good place for business. This time of growth lasted for about 10 years, during which the country's economy almost quadrupled. However, a serious problem grew slowly. Argentina was spending more US dollars than it was earning. Because the peso was strong, people bought many cheaper and often better products from other countries. Imports grew much faster than exports. To keep the 1-to-1 peso-dollar system going, Argentina borrowed a lot more money from other countries and banks. Its public debt grew from $65 billion to $151 billion while Carlos Menem was president. By the end of the 1900s, the situation became difficult. 40% of the money Argentina earned from selling goods abroad had to be used just to pay the interest on its debt. Also, more people lost their jobs. People began to worry and quickly took their money, especially US dollars, out of banks. The government's money reserves started to shrink quickly. In a final attempt to save the peso-dollar system, on December 1, 2001, the government stopped people from taking money out of their bank accounts. This was a very serious step, usually taken when a financial system is about to collapse. But this made people even angrier. There were many strikes, riots, and people looting shops. On December 20, 2001, the president of Argentina left the government palace in a helicopter as the capital city was in chaos. Just 3 days later, Argentina announced that it could not pay its huge foreign debt of $82 billion. This was the largest debt default in history at that time. The dream of connecting the peso to the dollar had failed completely. 8. The man with the chainsaw. After the 2001 default, Argentina faced great chaos. 5 presidents held office in just 2 weeks. The country ended its 1-to-1 peso-dollar rule. The peso quickly lost much of its value. This made Argentine goods cheaper, helping exports. But Argentina still had large debts. Some funds, called vulture funds, had bought Argentina's old debts cheaply. They went to court in the United States and won. This meant Argentina had to pay them a lot of money. Because of this court order, Argentina could not pay other lenders, leading to another default in 2014. This was very difficult for the country. Later, in 2015, Mauricio Macri became president. He tried to open the economy, but problems continued. In 2018, Argentina took a very large loan from the International Monetary Fund, but this also did not fix the economy. In 2020, Argentina defaulted on its debt for a 3rd time. Then a new radical president appeared, Javier Milei. He used a chainsaw as a symbol to show he would cut government spending. He called officials and old politicians parasites. Milei promised shock therapy to fix the economy. He quickly made big changes. He cut many government jobs and got rid of ministries. Most importantly, he stopped the central bank from printing more pesos. This was meant to stop high inflation, which was making food prices rise very fast. Milei also talked about a big plan to replace the peso with the US dollar. He even said he wanted to blow up the central bank. He believed people should be able to use any money they trust, like dollars or even digital currencies. This would mean Argentina could not print its own money, making prices stable. However, a crypto scandal hurt his image. Milei shared information about a new digital coin on social media. Many people bought it, thinking it was a good investment. But the coin quickly lost most of its value, and people lost money. Milei said he did not know the details and was just trying to help finance projects. Today, Argentina is divided. Some people have hope, believing Milei is finally making the tough changes needed. They are tired of past leaders' failures. Others feel fear. Milei's deep cuts mean less help from the government, making it hard for many to afford basic things like milk and bread. Argentina's long history shows a cycle of economic problems. It is a lesson in what happens when countries make similar mistakes over and over. After hearing this long history of repeated mistakes, do you think a radical leader like Milei is what Argentina needs? Or is it just another chapter in the same cycle?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.